The topic of my presentation today, how the church can accompany returning veterans and their families. We now know that there has been a tremendous amount of suffering by veterans after they've returned home. Many broken marriages, family violence, persistent problems with emotional adjustment ranging from 40 to 60%, and at least 3 times as many veterans committed suicide after coming home than were killed in Vietnam. Additionally, at least 500,000 have been arrested and or jailed. It's important not to generalize about any individual veteran. The particular aspects of the body, the psyche, and the spirit that are wounded by the war experience and how badly is going to vary greatly. And that's going to be both according to the soldier's particular experience in the war zone and at home. But it's going to vary greatly. We have to be very careful not to generalize about all veterans based on what is happening to some veterans. Well, we know that people obtain what I'll call visible wounds. And the Department of Defense current total of wounded is around 30,000. This is only one of the categories of people who are hurt in their service in Iraq and Afghanistan, however. That does not count people who are injured in non-hostile ways. Those are about 10,000, or who become ill, and that figure is around 28,000 now, of the people who have had to be evacuated from Iraq or Afghanistan because of their injuries. Okay, so in this particular situation in Iraq and Afghanistan, the signature injury has to do with traumatic brain injury, and usually that is not visible. It is damage to the soft tissue of the brain, and it happens in a lot of different ways. One of the major ones is through these IED explosions that you've heard of, improvised explosive devices, and sadly, even being near one of these blasts can be sufficient injury to the brain in order to cause long-lasting damage. So there are many, many instances when someone is near a blast, they pick themselves up and they say, thank goodness, you know, I survived that, only to find out later, sometimes far later, that they have indeed suffered brain injury that is going to impair their lives. This, unfortunately, well-known picture is used to demonstrate the vacancy in the eyes that is often seen in those suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And post-traumatic stress disorder is a diagnosis that's related to chemical and physical changes after a trauma that happened to the body and the brain. It involves emotional numbing, intrusive thoughts, flashbacks where the person can believes that they are once again in the war situation and they must battle to survive. As you can imagine, it causes major interference with relationships, sleep disturbances, lots of nightmares to the point that people are afraid to go to sleep and often self-medicate with alcohol as a way of getting to sleep, depression, and a lot of suppressed rage, which often comes out inappropriately, and a tendency to self-isolate as they try to remove themselves from these problems. We think that about 20% of our soldiers are having these symptoms after their deployments. And again, the recent RAND report has documented that as many as 300,000 of our soldiers currently suffer. You've been gone. Our Minnesota National Guard troops were gone for 22 months. A lot changes in that time. The home and family has changed. The soldier has changed. Roles in the family have to be renegotiated. And there's a lot of emotions that people have. Maybe resentment, unrealistic expectations, suspicion between a married couple, fatigue, disappointment. There's just so much there. And this would be the case if this person had simply been on an exchange trip of study and been gone for 22 months. This is without additional trauma. Many returning veterans are confused about, who am I now? There was the person who went to war 22 months ago, and then the person who came home, and who am I now? As the church, we think it's incredibly important that we help people remember whose they are throughout this process. Congregational outreach is key. We believe that it is important to be persistent in expressions of concern and to reach out in a way that's not counseling, fixing, moralizing, or evangelizing, but accompany during this important transition process with resources. It's as though the arms of Christ are reaching out. How are you doing? And we care are the messages that we think should be expressed over and over again. It's important as we do this outreach work that we network with others who are doing similar outreach, and that we help the church prepare for particular healing opportunities. This is who we are, the Coming Home Collaborative, and how to connect with us. I thank you for your attention today.